There are 4,315,275,402 Alabama football podcasts on the internet. And now you get to ignore every single one. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. Real talk from real fans. We gump to a standard around here. Recapping the Alabama Crimson Tide and college football from around the SEC and across the nation. This is the Houndstooth Podcast. And here are your hosts, Bill Sylvie, Jessica Brand, John Henry, and Bo Gonora.
Good morning, sports fans, and isn't it a fine morning? How was y'all Saturday? Mine was absolutely amazing because the Alabama Crimson Tide rolled into Starkville and made a statement last night, and I could not have been happier. Everything seemed to be firing on all cylinders. The Tide rolled. The Tide rolled like they should have rolled. No fingernail biting for certain drives, no agonizing decisions being made out on the field. Alabama looked like an absolutely complete unit last night. Not 100% happy with the opening drive, but we'll get to those details in a little bit. We have got a lot of content to get to today. Now, I want to point out for those of you who are addicted to the lovely symmetry of our panel layout on Saturday mornings, Jessica could not be here this morning. She was feeling a little under the weather, so we wish Jessica a speedy recovery and a return to her position as navigator of this big old starship of Alabama Crimson Tide football fandom. But anyway, my thoughts on last night. Wow. I've been spamming this thing everywhere, but it's true. I feel a bit like G.D. Spradlin as Coach Smith in One-on-One, which is a great sports movie if you've never seen it, by the way. It's fairly old. I think it's set 77, 78 when it came out. But he did an absolute powerhouse performance as a basketball coach. And he delivers essentially a sermon to the team at the beginning of the season, laying down the law. And what he says is that, in a nutshell, is this season we don't have time for what ifs and what does and I'm going to go and do my own thing. From here until December, every Crimson Tide game is exactly that. And that's the way I feel going in and going out. So sitting down last night, I did not know if the message of the Texas A&M loss would stick. Would Alabama be dispirited and only fire on half cylinders? Or would they come out and plant their flag and say, this is who we are? And fortunately, it was the latter. I saw solid play on both sides of the ball. I saw an Alabama team that essentially played at will when they had the ball. And we'll get to some stats and everything, but I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let Bo and John talk a little bit now.
Yeah, that was exactly what I hoped to see. I was really hoping that they would take the lesson of the loss and buckle down and come out and play, the way that we know they're capable of playing. And They did that. Oh, and I was like you, man. I was a little concerned that first drive. It's like, oh, why can't we stop these guys? Why can't we get out? And that kind of continued, you know, throughout the game. That air raid offense, when it's clicking, is tough to stop sometimes. If the quarterback's accurate, if the receivers get separation, run the routes the way they're supposed to. So, but the defense stepped up when they needed to, and got a couple of picks, got a pick six, got 5 sacks. How many total? We'll get to that in a minute. Will Anderson had 4, so yay. Yeah, it was good. I was much relieved, and that 15 play, 8-minute, 93-yard drive for a touchdown was a thing of beauty. That's I really like to see them be able to do that when they need to. They can go 93 yards and chew 8 minutes off the clock.
Well, I'll tell you, it reminded me a little bit of some of those Tua games where, wow, it really feels like we're struggling against this opponent. I mean, we're having a hard time, and you look up and we're up 21. That's what it
It
felt
did
like
kind of feel that way, didn't
for
it?
the first half. And here's the thing about the air raid, and I think we really noticed it last night. They could really move the ball well between the 20s. Once they got inside the 20, since they can't run, their space gets constricted, and it's harder to get open. And we could send an extra guy and move them backwards. We saw a lot of that. I was a little worried about how well they moved the ball between the 20s, especially in the first half. The answer to that apparently was Will Anderson just got more pressure. He was a beast last night.
So
I mean,
I commented during the game in the chat, and I said, "A pissed off Will Anderson is a joy to watch."
now he needs his bookend back. If he gets his bookend back, that defense is going to be really, really, really tough to move on the rest of the year. So we just got to get a little bit healthy over there. Offensively, I thought we executed pretty well. They were putting us under a lot of pressure most of the night, and they were blitzing guys. We have to, first of all, the offensive line has got to pick up blitzes a little bit better. They're still letting guys in. They shouldn't. All of that shouldn't be on the quarterback. I mean, they've got to learn to pick those up. But we've also got to have some things to beat the blitz besides get a guy open deep in one-on-one coverage. We're not. Do we have a screen in our repertoire anywhere?
I don't know if Sark took all the screen plays with him when he went to Texas, but
he needs to know what a screen is. That is really or a quarterback draw. Something.
Tua, listen to me. Bryce Young had a couple of good runs last night where he decided to pick it up with his feet instead of trying to force the ball. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to do that a little bit more. He's gonna keep getting blitzed. If he takes off and runs and gets 20, 30-yard gashes out there, that'll slow down the rush a bit. We've got to do something to slow it down because they're going to keep rushing until we can show we can beat it.
Well, I thought they did a good job of hitting the hot read on all-out blitzes last night.
For the most part, we got to get a little bit more separation. But I will say one thing that I was really pleased to see is B-Rob getting a 51-yard touchdown pass. That made my night.
That was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yes.
B-Rob running wide out in the open. I was hoping to see that this game, one way or the other. But and Battle's pick six was nice. That was a really pretty pick.
Love a pick six.
Roy Dell had a Jake Coker moment where he just trucked a guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
he did, didn't he?
That was
I think that's something that should be standardized, institutionalized, a Jake Coker moment.
yes.
You know, I've never made a secret of how much I loved watching Jake Coker play football, and when he trucked, I think it was actually A&M they were playing.
I believe it
When
was.
he dropped his shoulder. I mean, it wasn't like, oh no, he's in my way. You know, Jake dropped his shoulder and lowered his helmet, and well, with this SEC officiating crew, he would have gotten ejected from the game.
Yeah, he would have. Yes.
But we'll talk a little bit about the officials. For those of you who maybe just clicked in and didn't pay a lot of attention to the title of this morning's show, Alabama beat Mississippi State and their officiating crew.
Yeah.
49-9
15 versus 11.
Yeah. So anyway, oh, and I missed it in the run-up, and I apologize for that. The trivia winner for last week was Commandant Krieger. Congratulations. He got last week's trivia question correct, and we'll have a humdinger with 2 answer options this week at halftime. But let's jump into it, and let's take a look at by the numbers. Let me just pull this up here, my extensive and expensive notes. And it's a problem, folks. I got too much stuff open on my desktop. So we're gonna run down the numbers real quick and just talk about this. So last night, Bryce Young, 20 for 28, 348 yards, average 12.4, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for that young man, Bryce Young.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It was a thing of beauty. Roydell Williams, 11 carries, 78 yards, average 7.1, long of 29. B-Rob Brian, 19 carries, 73 yards, average 3.8, 2 touchdowns, long of 11. Trey Sanders, 4 carries for 27, average 6.8, long of 20. Bryce did some footwork, as we said. Bryce did some footwork, as we said. 6 carries, 18 yards, with a long of 13. So overall, we were 41 carries, 195 yards on the ground, average of 4.8, 2 touchdowns with a long of 29. Receiving core, Mechie, 7 for 117, average 16.7, long of 46. But we got to hand it for dramatic moments to Jamison Williams, 2 for 77 with a long of 75. Was that not a thing of beauty? 1 TD.
It was.
That was
Mechie
nice.
did pick up a TD also. Trayshawn Holden, 3 for 70, 23.3, 1 touchdown. Everybody 8. Long of 29. B-Rob, 5 for 68, 1 TD, long of 51, average of 13.6. Let's see. Slade got a little bit of legwork last night.
Slade was robbed.
Yeah. Slade, 2 for 9, long of 5, which, look, folks, if you're out there like, well, you're just a bunch of Alabama homers. Yes, that's what this show is, okay? We're not a general sports show. Don't expect an even-handed approach to things. Slade Bolden was robbed. The officials were wrong. Everybody saw it was wrong. Everybody in the booth knew it was wrong. Roydell Williams, 1 for 7 for 7. Let's see. Defense. Let's talk about defense. Now, this is Jessica's wheelhouse, which makes missing her all the more painful. But we're going to run down this. Now, here's something about defense last night. I'm just going to say this. Normally, I just run the numbers without commentary, but Toto was quiet. I didn't realize this till I looked at the post game. He was actually in the mix a lot last night. Not as much as Will Anderson as far as sacks goes, but Toto, he was. Let's see, 7 solo tackles, 1 sack, and 1.5 tackles per loss. Overall, 65 tackles on the night, 7 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss. Only 2 quarterback hurries. We didn't bring the pressure on the quarterback like I'd hoped we were. But then when you're sacking them, they can't really hurry.
I was going to say, we did. They just were counted as sacks.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to reiterate something that I've said on Discord and I post on the RBR forums all the time. First of all, and this is going to be a rare thing. You won't hear this very often. Hats off to Will Rogers. Young man, injured his shoulder, got dumped on his shoulder, stayed in the game in obvious pain. I don't watch this sport ever, even if it's my team, to see these young men get injured, take physical injuries. I am glad that Will Rogers was able to come back out and keep playing, but only if he was 100%. Because, good Lord, he ate a lot of turf last night in Starkville. Interceptions. We had 3. Jordan Battle, the pick 6, 69 yards. Nice. Josh Jobe had a short pick, but it set us up for a score. So 3 interceptions total. 2 kick returns. Let's see. 2 kick returns. Jamison Williams, 65 yards with a long of 45. JoJo Earl, 1 punt return for a couple yards. Will Reichert, perfect on the XPs last night. James Burnip was doing okay at punting. I love the kid. I'm glad we got a competent punter. I hate to see him get used that often. Threw at 3 punts on the night.
Yeah, 3 punts is unacceptable.
3 punts is unacceptable. So that is the by the numbers breakdown. So high tide, low tide, and elephant stomp. Bo, what do you got?
So I have several. So my high tide moment, which I think John disagrees with me, was my high tide was the adjustments that they made on the all-out blitzes on 3rd down to hit the hot route. I remember 3 specifically, and there were probably a couple more that I don't specifically remember. But Mississippi State brought pressure, and Bryce just dumped it off to his hot route, and we ended up with a 1st down out of it on those 3 that I remember. Low tide, SEC refs, they suck. All right? They don't just suck on our games. They sucked all around the conference this week, and it's a consistent thing. So that's the low tide, and man, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It could. I mean, it was hard to pick an elephant stomp, but I went with just because it kind of set the tone of the game for me. First quarter, about 4 minutes, Battle's pick 6. I think that was what I picked for my elephant stomp moment, because at that point it was like, yeah, these boys came to play.
Yes. All right, John, you're awfully quiet sitting over there. High tide, low tide, elephant stomp moments, sir.
Well, I would like to point out one thing before I get into that.
All right.
Our opponent had a holding call last night.
Really? I must have missed that.
Yeah.
Usually the refs do, but last night there was an actual holding call. They well, it was sort of obvious. They he had our guy around the neck as he was trying to go in to make a tackle. Um, so yes, there was a holding call, and a rare sighting, but it was there, and I want to celebrate that. So my high tide was B Rob's 51-yard touchdown. That was I love to see that guy in the open field. I haven't really seen that much, and he's faster than I thought. He got up there, he got ahead of steam, and he was gone. They couldn't catch him. My low tide, Alabama's offensive struggles in the first half. They were a little inconsistent here and there. A lot of that had to do with Mississippi State and their pass rush. They were very aggressive, especially in the first half. But yeah, we hit some hot routes. I still need to see our offensive line pick up some blitzes better. We were double teaming guys with a free rusher coming right by one of the linemen a few times. They've got to fix that. And my elephant stomp was Battle's pick six. They were moving the ball, and the guy made a long throw across the field, and he didn't throw it on a rope, and Battle came over, picked it off, and took it right in. It was pretty. I mean, he just snatched it right out of the guy's hands. So those are mine, and there are a lot more great moments, but those are my highlights for the game.
So, for me, the high tide had to have been defensive performance last night. I can't pick just one. We made Will Rogers eat turf all night. He never had an easy moment in the pocket. I would say it was a high tsunami for me last night of watching the defense in performance. Now, yes, on the opening drive, I was like, okay, all right, we're gonna be behind the eight ball, but no, every time it looked like Mick Leach's squad was putting something together, the defense answered the call. Every time. Every single time. They looked very good in the red zone. I would have preferred a little bit more pressure on their kicker. But that's a thing where you got to look at, do we risk 15 yards or do we cede 3 points? It's kind of like the deliberate pass interference grab. So, high tide for me was without a doubt the defense. Low tide, it's kind of tough. Low tide, and this is not his fault. Low tide was that absolute BS no catch call for Slade Bolden. That was a catch. Slade did nothing wrong. Slade has been golden hands ever since. Well, and I think he got robbed. I absolutely think Slade got robbed. That was a low tide moment for me.
He did, and the problem with that is that they reviewed it and still made the wrong call. All right, it's supposed to be the call on the field, right? There's supposed to be a certain amount of incontrovertible video evidence to overturn a call, but no. I mean, I guess you could argue that the ball was moving and maybe it touched the ground, but it wasn't clear, indisputable, not but the camera angles that they had. And, then the fact that they don't review what was obviously a catch out of bounds. So Will Rogers threw that long pass and he threw it short and he caught the ball, and then the next play they throw it out, and so they're not going to review that, but they're going to review slates. So.
I wish SEC officials would be given a crash course in what constitutes being out of bounds, because honestly, you take one shit call away last week and Alabama wins that game, because it's absolutely incontrovertibly an A&M player caught the ball out of bounds. His left foot was almost completely in the white. And anyway, the less said about last week, the better. But bad officiating was low tide. Elephant stomp, the 75-yarder.
I mean, it was hard to pick, wasn't it?
It was very hard to pick. I mean, just, you know, it was such a thing of beauty. And I don't want to be perceived as somebody once said that watching games longingly, watching previous seasons' games longingly was like cheating on this season's team. So I don't want to be perceived as cheating on my 2021 Alabama Crimson Tide. But we got so used last year to Mac Jones throwing over the top and having a receiving squad just standing around going, "Yep, I'm here. Just throw it and we'll get a TD." That the very long pass TD, and it comes down to offensive coordinator style too. You know, we have a different guy in the booth now. But you know, the 75-yarder was a breath of fresh air after ground and pound and so on.
Yeah, so we all talk about how fast Jameson Williams is. He's also quick, right? And he's agile, and he evidently has giant bimbo brakes in his shoes, because he just stopped on a dime, turned around, caught that ball, and then was back to top speed in 2 strides. I mean, it was just, I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, how in the world do you defend against that?
I don't know. He's wall running. He found a glitch in the physics engine to exploit. I don't know, but it was absolutely wonderful to watch. I mean, you know, the whole game could be given high tide or elephant stomp status as far as I'm concerned, except for the officiating.
So does that mean we're forgiving Williams for his really bad block in the back on a first down play? That was stupid.
Well,
I'll say this one thing I noticed last night, and I'm sure you guys caught this too, because I mean Tessitore pointed it out early on, and I don't remember who it was, and I apologize for this. I'm sure one of you guys actually knows. But early on, there was the officials didn't stop to look at it, which is pretty fucking amazing. Pardon my language. Was a face mask to face mask smash on a tackle.
I saw that.
Nick was immediately yelling, "Keep your head up, keep your head up, keep your head up." And Tessitore was like, oh yeah, there's Nick Saban saying you got to keep your head up on those. I quite frankly am astounded that the refs didn't throw the flag and eject on that. I would not have been surprised if they had done that, because honestly, the refs sucked last night during that game. And again, I when it became clear that they couldn't just hand it to to Mississippi State like they did last week, well,
I would joke that the SEC office might review it, but I think they're going to have their hands full this week.
The SEC office is going to be a little bit busy, yeah.
Definitely.
We'll talk about that around the top 25, but not.
I thought GMAC and Joe did a good job last night calling the game. I enjoyed. I think that's probably the first game this year that I just didn't feel like I could enjoy it more if I just turned off the audio. You know,
GMAC actually was complimentary of Alabama
maybe
and
that's what it
Alabama
was.
players.
He's for. I mean, I think he's just growing into his role as a
Yeah,
as a sportscaster. He tried for the first few years. He tried very hard to not be a homer. GMAC, it's okay, man. You can be a little bit of a homer. It's cool.
Well, I mean,
Liam Sims said, Joe Tessitore's drunk Gus Johnson.
yes. Is I don't know. I know GMAC can't go full homer, but you could say nicer things about us too, Greg. I mean, are you carrying are you carrying some baggage for your time at Bama? Because last time I looked, dude, you did pretty good. But anyway,
he did a good job last night, I thought.
yeah, yeah. I had no problem with the booth last night. I thought the guys were great, and I
mean,
love
he's no
hearing Joe
Gary,
Tessitore.
but, you know who is.
Anybody isn't. I like hearing Joe Tessitore get excited for us, so that was nice. So yeah, in the overall, that's I think we're all pretty much on the same page, high tide, low tide, elephant stomp wise.
Bo was wrong still.
I'm sorry, what?
I said Bo was wrong still. I
Bo-
don't know about what, but Bo was wrong.
Bo was
The
wrong.
great thing about this job is I can be wrong and still get paid.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, we all we all get the same rate. We're very ecumenical around here and
right.
even-handed. We all get paid exactly the same amount to do this show week in and week out, guys. Commandant Krieger, not a fan of the beards, are you? Well, let's see. So, anyway, it is halftime, gentlemen. It is halftime, and time for halftime trivia. Now, this one, Jess gave us this one, and this was pretty amazing. So this is this week's trivia. Prior to this past game, 2 players in the Saban era have recorded multiple interceptions against Mississippi State in the same game. Name one of those 2 players. So you got 2 opportunities there, guys. Name one of 2 players in past games who've had multiple interceptions against Mississippi State in the Saban era. I should clarify, in the Saban era. So no fair digging down to like 1892 or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Under the Nick Saban era, 2 games of multiple interceptions by a player. Name one of them.
I knew one of them because I remember it, but I did not know the other one.
All right. And while I set up the crawl for today, and you guys contemplate that, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tennessee Hate Week.
Man, I hate Tennessee because, first of all, it's Tennessee. And I just hate them because they low down, they dirty, they some snitches. And I hate Philip Farmer. I hate their colors. I'm not a dog person. I just hate Tennessee, man. Like, and I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck worker convention. And I hate all their quarterbacks. I hate Tennessee, man.
Describe what you feel about their colors, too. I thought that was
It reminds me, and it's not that orange that you can stand. See, I hate Tennessee more than I hate Auburn. I just dislike Auburn. I hate Tennessee. See, Tennessee's colors is that throw up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with. It's that puke inside of a pumpkin orange. And I don't like pumpkins. So I really don't like Tennessee, man. I can't stress that enough, man. And they losers, they sore losers because they're not Alabama, and I hate Tennessee, man.
beautiful, man. probably the best interview I've done all year. Thank you, man.
Dude, man, I can't stress that enough. I hate them.
I have never, ever seen a team. We're going to get into the top 25, folks. We're going to dig into it with a knife and a fork. I have never seen a team throw their own vehicle into reverse and smash ass end into a meme like Tennessee did last night. Golf clap balls.
Yes,
Golf
clap. They were teed off, weren't they?
Very good.
The review was pretty clear on that too. It was
Yes.
short.
Yes.
I mean, it was almost heartbreaking for somebody to give that much effort. And it was fourth and like 17, and he
Yeah.
came up like a foot short. But he came up a
Yeah,
foot short.
he got a bad spot, but I do believe that that he was short, but he wasn't as short as they made it out to be. I don't believe, but then again,
Short.
They didn't have good angles. There wasn't enough there to overturn it. So it maybe if the crew we had was officiating that game, they would have given it to him. But who knows?
If it was against us, they would have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the broadcast crew is asking on air, why is Kiffin walking around with a golf ball in his hand?
Yeah. I mean,
Because they threw it at him.
The what I thought was funny was that the after game press conference, and Tennessee's coach is like, just a few fans. I'm like, dude, did you see the amount of trash that was on the field? That was not just a few fans.
Yeah.
And for the record, that is not a Ray Lewis quote. He may have said that at some point. That's not Ray Lewis though. The guy who originated that's a little bit older.
A little bit. Yeah, it was just embarrassing.
I mean, everybody was like, you Alabama fans, y'all are classless, a bunch of entitled a-holes. Really? We're classless? I mean, that was embarrassing for the school, the state of Tennessee, the conference. I mean, I don't. That's it. If anything like that ever happened at Bryant Denny, I might have to rethink some things.
Yeah, that's strong words, but I mean, if Bama fans acted like that, I could definitely see it, but we don't, because we're not low down, we're not dirty.
That's right.
So,
Well, see, Alabama fans play putt-putt to a standard, so they're going for it on the 18th hole. They're not keeping the ball like Tennessee fans do.
That's right.
So,
So I have a technical question, and maybe you guys know. Should not Tennessee have been charged a timeout for that stoppage?
yes.
Okay. Why were they not?
Did you not see the title of today's episode?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, no, the broader statement is, and I think every team, look, again, we gump to a standard around here, but come on, fellow SEC fans, look around the conference. Hell, look around the nation when we're talking about 1A FBS, and look at the officiating and tell me it's worth a damn. It's not.
Because Tennessee had all three of their timeouts when that occurred, and I don't understand why they weren't charged one, because I thought that the rules allowed it, and they definitely should have been. Which would have, I mean, there was less than a minute to go. They were trying to, and then credit to Tennessee. They got to stop. You know, um, they got a 3-and-out, and they're going down there and they're trying to win the game. You know, but that whole episode was just embarrassing. It
For
was just
them.
like it was
For
just
them.
yeah for them, it was hilarious for us, but it's embarrassing, and how you can walk around with that god awful inside of a pumpkin orange on and hold your head up after that. I don't understand.
Yeah. It just it's just bad. And I'm going to say something here in the spirit of being even-handed and trying to rise above. I to the fans of Tennessee. I'm talking about, people for whom that's their alma mater. They're not sidewalk fans. They're not a bunch of drunken idiots. But taking that into consideration, I do feel bad for Tennessee fans who had to see the student body behave that way. They had to see the crowd behave that way. That's got to be tough, regardless of who your team is. When
I don't feel
people
bad for them.
fit like that,
They had a choice. Plenty of other schools they could have went to.
yeah,
They made their choice. They can live with it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But how about Lane Kiffin's reaction to it all?
Lane, oh Lane,
He is the Heath Ledger Joker of college football coaches right now. I mean, he was just didn't give a damn. And he could have come out and talked a bunch of smack, but he damned him with faint praise.
yeah.
And just, I I'm sorry. When I think about Lane and how he's on a personal level, on a professional meaning, his front facing to the press, and the media level, how he's navigated this season, it's just funny. I mean, funny, and laughing with him, not at him. I still think tweeting mugshots of Alabama students who had legal infractions was shitty, but
Yeah.
I can't hate the guy.
Yeah. Well, so Lane, I get the vibe from him that he's kind of like a stand-up looking for his shtick, right? He's trying different things to see what works, and one of these days he'll figure it out because he's run the gamut this year, from the premeditated popcorn incident, to to last night with his kind of backhanded compliments. And so it's one of these days Lane will figure out who he is, and we will all be the worst for it because I'm enjoying the I'm enjoying the run
I think
up.
he knows he's a football coach who's also a gigantic goofball.
Yeah.
I mean,
And there's nothing wrong with goofball,
I mean, Leach is who he is. I mean, he's kind of a little bit of an offshoot of Leach. He's just a little more of a stand-up comedian than maybe stand-up philosopher that Leach is.
Mm.
So, anybody wants to get that history of the world reference there, go ahead.
Yes, I got it. I got it.
But I mean, he's consistent with it. I mean, against Alabama, that I don't think that was premeditated. I mean, you could see him; he was a little too fired up, and he needed to get himself under control a little bit. Last night, you could tell he was a little more relaxed, and the interview was better. You could see it; he was being a little bit more himself, and not a little, too pumped. High school pumped up that guy who was a little out of control. He's just a naturally funny guy, and I can't hate him. I don't necessarily want him as my coach, but I can't hate him.
Yeah, let's give him maybe another decade to season, and we'll see how we feel about that. You know, and I think his reaction to the popcorn comment, we're reaching way back for a couple of weeks, though. I mean, he even said, you know, he was humbled by it a little bit, but he said, you know, when he did the mic drop and ran over, he immediately said to his OC, look, we need to score really quick because I just said something stupid. You know, I mean, let's be 100% right. Okay, there's no way Nick Saban would like call up to the booth and tell Bill O'Brien, look, we need to put up a lot of points because I just did something really stupid on camera. I mean.
Well, that wouldn't be doing what's right with all your might, would it?
No, it would not.
And did we miss that story this week?
Well, I'll let you tell it.
Nick Saban was talking about that. He was talking to the parent of an international recruit guy who had never even set foot in the United States, and the guy said, "Coach, I know the Alabama standard. I know what it is." And he said, "Really? What do you think it is?" And the guy said, "You do what's right with all your might." And coach said, "I'm using that." So he went right back to the team during a team meeting, said, "This is what the Alabama standard is according to this guy, and it makes sense. Is this what you're doing?" And I mean, he's using that now. So it's a nice little short summary of what I think the Alabama standard is. Do what's right with all your might.
Do what's right with all your might, and if it lights a fire under this team, if it keeps this team alive and breathing all the way through the playoffs to glory, then absolutely, that I'm okay with that. And I do want to I do want to mention this before we deep dive into the top 25, because we're kind of taking the time right now where Jess would be here and breaking down serious stats in her No Kisses, No Hugs segment. But, you know, Will Anderson, his leadership, his on-field leadership, and his attitude about pulling this team together, coming in for the big win, was inspirational. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I think ultimately last week was just the youth of the team showing through, and it finally caught up with them. And seems like maybe we've had a few players just grab hold of the leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
And you want to see everybody on Anderson's level, right? Because one guy can't drag 52 around.
True.
Two guys can't drag 52 around. Two guys and a coach.
Or 84.
Yeah, or 84. You know, two guys can't shoulder that burden all by themselves. Everybody needs to have that attitude. Everybody, whether they're playing or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe we take a moment to mention Aggie Hall's little snit. I don't know what's going on. I mean, you know, he threw up that "I quit" tweet, and then it was taken down, and his Twitter is down now. Did he bail? Did he not bail? If he gets some counseling from coach, from the rest of the team, and decides to stick it out, good for him. But if he's just going to be like, no, I was just popping off, and just leaves that out there, look, man, you're in it to win it or hit the bricks.
That transfer portal works both ways.
Yes, it does.
And I'm sure there's somebody out there with the right attitude that would love that spot you're taking up on the roster.
Exactly. And I said that, I said it last night, and I'll say it again. In fact, I liked what I said so much. Normally, I don't like to hear what I have to say, but this is what I said. I posted this in Discord last night, and I firmly believe this. So, did Mac Jones leave after languishing as a practice team quarterback for 2 years? No. Did Jalen Hurts leave after Tua and 2nd and 26? No. He stayed. He stayed and he rescued the team in the SECCG. Did Jake Coker leave? Did Derrick Henry? There is an entire history of Alabama Crimson Tide football writ in glory and blood by young men who stayed the course and listened to the gospel according to Nick Saban as if it were the very word of Almighty God, and waited patiently and won with their own hand the right to call themselves champion, to hold up that trophy and wear that coveted ring, and for many to ride that thunderous tide into professional football. And all of them gained that chance by not quitting, by not lashing out on a toy pocket computer like a petulant child.
Hear, hear.
Let's go play. Let's hit the field. Let's go, guys. Come on.
Yeah, I'm ready to run through a brick wall. I don't know about you guys, but that is my attitude on it.
That's what Lane should have said at the beginning of the Alabama game right there. I mean, something like that. Inspirational.
I'm clipping that, by the way.
So that's fine.
That was
That's
a
fine.
nice speech.
Thank you. I was fired up last night.
Did you rehearse that in front of the mirror before the podcast?
No, I didn't. Rehearse? You imply that I prepare, sir? How dare you?
Yeah. You got a little practice on his Friday live stream, just FYI.
All right. Not related. Not even gonna bring that in. But I can get fired up from time to time.
Nerd.
Nerds. So anyway, that's all the rambling on. Let's jump into the top 25. Look, I think we've said all we need to say about Tennessee, but let's talk about it some more. They low down, they dirty, they snitches, they garbage men.
They dirty, they some snitches. I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck worker convention.
And boy, did it.
Yes, it did.
A bunch of classless assholes ruined, a bunch of classless Tennessee fans ruined everything for the other three.
Man, I hate Tennessee.
It's funny. One of the things, and this got focused on by the media, and folks, I promise we'll talk about. I know there were 24 other games played yesterday. Somebody threw an entire, the industrial-sized bottle of mustard.
That they probably stole from the table outside the concession
So
stand.
somebody had the presence of mind to run out into the concourse, grab a bottle of mustard from a concession stand, bring it back to their seat, and hang on to it for just the right moment to throw it on the field. Or they brought a bottle of mustard to the game.
Or they brought a mustard bottle to the game with something else in it.
Which leads me to somebody should tell these kids that much brown liquor is really bad for your tooth.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this. Speaking of speeches, I said this last night, and then I will talk about other games. Now, look, I want to set aside any and all team bias here. The young women who go out and cheer for their teams have a hell of a job. They have a hell of a job, particularly if you're a cheerleader for, say, a team like Vanderbilt or UConn or somebody like that. They go, they smile, they are 2-1 lovely women. When we see the list of, or not the list, but the little run of photos that our overlords over on Roll Bama Roll put up of cheerleaders from different teams. I don't see physically unattractive young women, but they go out there and they help raise the spirits of their team. Tennessee fans, you threw garbage at your own cheerleaders. Let that sink in. You threw garbage at a bunch of little girls, at a bunch of young women who were there for you. Assholes. All right. Moving right along. Let's see.
Bo, Georgia, Kentucky. What do you got for us?
Georgia. I watched that game, most of that game anyway. Georgia's defense is legit. That is a given. Kentucky
Agreed.
scored a touchdown, and Kirby immediately fired his defensive coordinator. No, I was. Georgia seems to be lacking on the offensive side. They don't. I mean, they've got a good run game. They've got a fairly good passing game. What's up with their quarterbacks? I mean, not that Stetson Bennett is not, serviceable as a quarterback, and he's got a nice touch on the long ball. That's for sure.
Kirby offense. Yeah.
I mean,
the thing about Georgia is if you can stop their running game
yes.
without overcommitting an extra guy, their passing game is not going to go anywhere.
He threw for 250 yards and 3 TDs, so they can pass the ball.
If you bring too many guys into the box and you get people one-on-one, he can throw it over the top. Yeah. Just about anybody in college can do that. The trick is you've either got guys that can cover one-on-one, or you can just keep that extra guy back and not have to use him in the box. One of those things is what it's gonna take to stop this Georgia offense. It's not a complicated offense. They just want to smash you up front and then throw it over the top when they get the chance.
I'm curious where Kentucky ranked in the defense nationally prior to that game, because up in Auburn was the best passing team that Georgia had played to that point. And it wasn't that Kentucky didn't have success in the passing game. They did. They 32 for 42, 192 yards, 2 TDs. But that's not Kentucky's. That's not their wheelhouse, right? They've got basically a running quarterback, and Georgia shut down their run. I think they had about 50 yards total rushing yards yesterday, which was, I think that was the key to the game. So it's looking like Georgia's going to cruise into the SEC championship game because they have a head-to-head over Kentucky, and Florida lost again. So, that's kind of what I thought. What, you got anything else on that, or shall we move on? We've probably beat Ole Miss and Tennessee to death, haven't we?
Not enough yet. Well, you mean talking about their game? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I never get tired of beating Tennessee.
All right. Well, I'll let you take that one because I only got to see the.
I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck worker convention.
So you take it.
No, I'm finished discussing game, but I'm not tired of beating them.
I just want to interject real briefly, guys. Kentucky was 18th nationally defense.
Really? Nice.
Really.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. All right. A little bit of respect.
I will say about the top 25 yesterday, chaos reigned.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of predictable wins. And I also want to point something out. Look, I know it seems like I've been some kind of weird sidewalk homer for this team this season, but a dear friend of mine is a Cincy fan. Guys, they're legit, and if everything goes to plan for the rest of the season for us, we may have to play Cincy
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
Cincinnati looked good.
Don't sleep on Cincinnati. You know, they beat UCF soundly, which I do want to mention. I don't know the details on this, but apparently Gus Malzahn had a family emergency, like something critical, like he had to vanish at the end of the game yesterday. So I know we kid around a lot here on the show about coaches and teams and players and so on, but sincerely, I hope everything's okay, and best wishes to Coach Malzahn in whatever situation arose there at the end that required him to basically drop everything and leave. But anyway, yeah, back to form. Don't sleep on Cincinnati. If you do, you're a fool. They're coming in hard.
Yeah, and don't sleep on Purdue either.
Yeah.
I mean, Purdue just rose up and slapped Iowa.
Well,
Hawkeye.
Look,
You know?
I'm going to take a page from Joe Tessitore's book. The Hawkeyes were number 2 just because literally there was nobody else to stick there.
Yeah.
Jess
All right.
predicted this, if you guys remember a couple weeks
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
that Iowa was going to get
Yeah.
exposed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she did.
there you go, Jess. You've been vindicated again.
Once again. So they're out, which I think.
So here's a question. How far
Go
do you
ahead.
think Iowa will drop? Because we know that if you're ranked number 1 and you lose at the last, the very last minute to an unranked team, that you drop 4 spots. So what happens if you're ranked number 2 and you lose by 3 touchdowns to an unranked team?
We'll probably flip with Iowa.
You think so?
Yeah. They
The-
will
the-
drop down below the rest of the Big Ten. They'll be about number 8, 9, somewhere in there. Maybe 10.
No, I think the narrative that the votes are going to want to work will be, okay, Bama, we'll let you back in, but Iowa's still good enough to almost be in. I think they'll keep that narrative rolling that anybody can hop in. So I said we'll flip with Iowa. I don't think that's the case. I think since he moves to 2, Bama gets back in at 3, or Bama might get in at 4. It might go Georgia, Cincy, Oklahoma, Alabama. That might be the lineup.
Oklahoma had some struggles of their own yesterday.
They did. That was kind of a struggle win for them yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you, their quarterback, Spencer Rattler, looked really great riding the pine.
Yeah.
While Caleb Williams threw for 4 touchdowns.
Would you say he was rattled? I'm not very proud of that joke, but on the other hand, I am very proud of that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked very Caleb Williams looked very good yesterday. Oklahoma is going, TCU just was not going to go away, and they tried their damnedest and just couldn't pull it off. And so yeah, I think it's going to be more like I think it's going to be Georgia, Cincy, Oklahoma, and then we'll come in at 4. I think that's probably where the voters will go.
I
Just
am
because
happy
they
at number
don't-
4 for now.
They don't, did we do enough to jump Oklahoma? Me personally, I think we did. But, I don't have a vote. Nobody asked for my opinion. So we see all these polls all the time on the news. These polls, nobody ever asks me what I think.
We're a legitimate press outlet now. We should be given a vote.
I'm voting. I'm applying for press passes. So, we're all going to be able to sit in the press conference and ask Coach Saban stupid questions. We're going to get.
I'm
John
not
Henry.
asking Nick Saban a stupid
we're gonna
question.
get-
I'll
we're gonna
hide
get-
behind you while you do it.
We're going to get John Henry press pass, and we'll pay for his trip to Tuscaloosa, but he has to
Hey,
ask.
get me a seat in that press box. I'll show you what I can do.
But he has the payment. The payback is he has to ask just the most stupid question he can think of. Get one of those Coach Saban moments.
You know me, that'll be easy.
True.
It was years and years ago, but Josh Sneed of It's a Southern Thing / SEC Shorts got to the point where he could ask Nick Saban a question and was like, I thought he was going to die of a heart attack. I honestly thought Josh Sneed was just going to drop dead from fear. And I don't blame him. Nick Saban's a scary, scary man when he doesn't have time for BS. Because last night, I'm sure you guys saw the post game presser. Somebody asked a question about the timeout, and it was a very long, detailed question. And Nick just starts laughing and says, "Well, you just answered your question, didn't you?
True.
We took a timeout because we didn't like what we saw. So
Yeah.
that's what you said." I mean, he was chuckling about it. I think Nick Saban had a lot to smile about last night. But with that said, gentlemen, give us your steely gaze upon the SEC. What do you guys got in the SEC?
So what we have, let's see here. I've lost my. There it is. So we talked about Kentucky, Georgia already. It's looking like Kentucky, Georgia is going to just roll into the SEC championship game, and depending on how Alabama responds, we will probably be there as well. That's looking like that's building up to. I've lost count. How many games of the century is this for us? That's going to be interesting. Did you take anything away from that Kentucky game, John, that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, well, Kentucky's they just got beat up front. I mean, that's the same story with Georgia and Team X. Georgia's beating everybody up front, both sides of the ball. They're able to run the ball. Everybody has to bring up an extra defender to stop the run over the top for a long touchdown here and there. That's their passing game, and it's because of it's set up by the running game, and their defense is tough. And that front seven worries me against our offensive line. I'm just glad that if we do play them, it will be at the end of the year. They're good. Kentucky was undefeated, but they weren't. They clearly weren't in their class. I mean,
I think I saw a stat that said that this was the first time since we went to East and West divisions that we had a 6-0 versus a 6-0.
Yeah, if you remember, Florida and Tennessee were always the best teams in the 90s and early 2000s, very, very early 2000s. But they always met very early in the season, so one of them always had a loss. But yeah, back when the East was quote unquote the best division. Georgia's for real, guys. They're going to be hard to beat. They're a tough out for anybody. So I think as of right now, they're deserving of that number one spot, and it's going to take a lot to get them out of it.
Yeah, and I'm good with that. All right, let them have the target on their back.
Yeah, let them eat the rat poison.
Yeah, exactly. As far as Ole Miss Tennessee goes, as far as the game, I was surprised at how well Tennessee did handling Ole Miss's offense. But Matt Carroll, he may have had a Heisman game yesterday. He was, he was their offense yesterday.
Yeah, and when he couldn't, he did it with his arm and with his legs.
Yeah.
And the thing that the interesting thing about this, even after all that horrible, all the stuff where they stopped the game with 54 seconds left, Tennessee got the ball back and they were in it to the last play of the game.
Yep. Yeah, and
And
they were literally inches away because the ball hit the guy in the hands. He was a little high, but
yeah,
a couple of inches lower on the trajectory, and they may have been fined $250,000 for storming the field because they would have.
yeah, they'll be fined more than that this week for other things.
Be
Uh,
curious to find out what actually comes out of that. I'll be watching that.
the question is, what are we going to see from Tennessee coming up this week? I mean, they
Yeah,
can be a dangerous team. Uh, we can't be saying, oh, this is the last game before our bye, and we have a week off, and ooh, let's just go out there and get it over with. We're gonna have to show up for this game. They're gonna be tough, and
we have a report on Tennessee's quarterback because he got hurt there very end and had to come out. Um, I haven't heard
uh,
anything this morning about whether he's uh, anything about that injury, but he had to be helped off the field and was putting zero weight on his right leg. So
yeah, I haven't seen anything. All the press has been about the fans and
yeah, yeah,
all that trying to
yeah,
start a riot, fun stuff.
yeah.
But no, I haven't. So Auburn and Arkansas.
Yes,
Auburn comes up and beats Arkansas 38-23. And this game was, I mean, this was a really tight game. Then Auburn's defense had a strip sack and return it for a touchdown. And then right after that, Captain Yolo threw for a 71-yard touchdown pass to put this game out of reach for Arkansas.
is that his name now, Captain Yolo?
Captain YOLO.
I love it. Well, actually, so as much as we like to make fun of Auburn, Bo Nix actually played a very good game yesterday. He kind of looked like the quarterback that they had touted him to be all these past, what is it, 14 years now? Did you know his dad played for Auburn?
Oh, hey, really? No.
Yeah, yeah. But he did. He had he had a good game, and the reason I think he had a good game was because he didn't Captain YOLO all that much, So
That it gets him in trouble when he does that too much. I mean, he can make an
yeah,
off-schedule play here and there, but a good quarterback is going to have to. But yeah, it's when he goes and tries to take the game over. He's not that guy, and he tries to do that, and it gets him in trouble.
yeah,
And that's why I call him Captain Yellow,
yeah.
because
So
he tries to go out and be the guy. Um,
yeah,
he tries to be both football.
Bo football and Bo knows YOLO.
So anyway,
Yeah. So how about LSU all of a sudden figuring out how to run the football?
they won the Shoe Bowl, guys.
I mean, that was
LSU.
LSU. Yeah, LSU has done nothing this year on the ground. And I guess they were saving it all for the last game because they had one guy with 248 yards rushing for
208. Yeah, Tryon Davis Price. He
yeah,
287 and 3 touchdowns.
yes,
Uh,
and
it was helpful that Florida threw 4 interceptions.
that's true.
That's a
Also
big help.
it's also telling that Florida threw 4 interceptions and still only lost by 1 score.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what that means. Is Florida technically, if you take the interceptions out, do they win handily? I mean,
They, I mean, the same as last year. I mean, Florida kept LSU in the game until LSU can make a play. And LSU,
yeah,
they have the talent to make a play. They're just, yeah, you just can't let them stick around.
yeah,
That's,
that's true.
that's the issue with LSU.
We're not done yet.
Sorry.
We're not done yet, Bill.
My apologies.
Live. Would you love it? All right. So Texas A&M and Missouri, I saw nothing of that game, except the final score. So John, you got any insights? Did we lose John?
I promise I didn't kick him off.
Can
You
you
there,
not hear me?
John?
There
yeah,
you are.
we got you back. We got you.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I wasn't even muted this time. But Calzada, he regressed to the mean, threw for 148 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick.
All right. Okay. So possibly last week was just the ghost of Steven Garcia inhabiting. I mean, it's okay.
He had his game. He's gonna go away now.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
So
and
you know
so-
who's not going away? Is South Carolina's graduate assistant come quarterback.
Yeah, South Carolina pulled it out in the Why Are They in the SEC Classic?
Yes.
Vandy almost beat the Cox, but they couldn't hold their own.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say that South Carolina teams like to run illegal pick plays in the red zone.
True. That's true.
Even the third best team in South Carolina likes
It's
to
in
run
the
illegal
state
pick
constitution. It's in their charter. They have to do
plays. So many things I want to say here, but no, I want us to stay on the air, so I'll be quiet. But
Believe me, I'm considering kicking myself off the stream already for the number of obvious ones.
sorry, I was just no, never mind.
Moving right along.
That was that was. Did anybody watch that game? I mean, did anybody? Oh, good. I needed a nap yesterday afternoon, but I was out, so I couldn't take a nap, so I didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
That would have been why I would have watched that game. But now we know who number 13 and 14 are in the SEC. I think maybe we can move Missouri up to 12. Maybe.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh, me. But, okay. But we've talked about the SEC. We've even talked about the top 5.
Yeah, pretty much. Bill, you wanna run down the rest of the top 25 for us?
Let's see. So, let me wait for the crawl to come back around. I'll try and do this in order that's not SEC related. We talked about Iowa and Purdue. Iowa got shown the door. They're fake. They've been fake. Cincy just plowed UCF under 56-21. Oklahoma, in my opinion, didn't look good against TCU. They just didn't.
Yeah, the score looks a lot better than the game looked.
6, 7, and 8 all had buys this week. Good for them.
Yeah.
Oregon, if you care.
That was a
Oregon,
strong
if you
win.
care, almost
Yeah.
did not win.
Almost did not win.
Yes.
Michigan, Indiana was another kind of snoozer.
Michigan State.
Notre Dame had a bye. But I mean, honestly, who cares? We got some weird ones. Coastal Carolina and Wake Forest, or Coastal Carolina had a bye. Wake Forest, one more time. Wake Forest had a bye. Coastal Carolina plays midweek. Arizona State lost to Utah. So that was a thing that happened.
Now, wait a minute. Let's back up just a little bit. Oklahoma State, 32-24 over Texas.
Yes.
Second week in a row, Texas has given up a 2-touchdown lead.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can
Yeah.
play. They can't finish.
Right.
They
So
have some lessons to learn.
Oklahoma State game is looking like that's going to be interesting. And they play at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, Bedlam is what they call that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're both undefeated right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
We'll
going to
see.
be interesting to see what the crowd's going to be like in that game with Oklahoma um, making the move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the less said about that, the better. Um, anyway, so back looking at the top 25, Notre Dame did have a bye, and I promise I'll get it right this time. Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State are playing a midweek game. They did not have a bye, so 15 Coastal Carolina. Wake Forest had a bye. The Wake Forest demon Satan preachers, whatever they are. Come on, guys, pick one name and stick to it.
Which side are you on? Come on.
Arizona
right.
State, Utah, 35. Utah beat Arizona State. What can I say? Chaos reigns. NC State went in and reamed out Boston College. I didn't think anybody didn't see that coming. SMU Tulane is another midweek game on the 21st. And wrapping it up, San Diego State 19, San Jose 13. And there were blissfully few Pac-12 after dark games for me to have to sit up till 3 in the morning
Well,
to track.
BYU also lost to Baylor. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't adjust the ticker speed.
it's okay.
And,
and
by
and I
the
just-
way, on the NC State game, did anybody see that catch? The NC State Devin
Yes.
Carter he caught that a one-hander off the defender's back, and then trotted backwards into the end zone.
Yeah.
And the defender was like looking around, going, "Where's the ball?"
It sounds like a beaut, and I missed that one, unfortunately.
It was. You need to go find that highlight. That was a nice catch. I still haven't figured out how he caught it yet. I think the defender still doesn't know where the ball is. And San Diego State, neither team scored a touchdown in regulation in that game.
What?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, 19-13, 2 overtimes.
Oh, my God.
So that was a. Can we call it a defense? I can't say defensive masterpiece. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love this idiotic sport. See, I was railing about this yesterday, and I want to have a chance now that I can speak to clarify something, because I think we've adequately covered the top 25 in the SEC this morning. Unless John, do you want to talk about stock trades in the top 10?
Sorry, I don't have it ready yet, guys.
That's
We
fine.
will get that.
That's fine. So I said yesterday, and I mean this, that college football is a vastly superior product to pro ball. And, there was some back and forth on the Discord about, pro ball, it's like you're seeing the elite of the elite. And I just don't see it, guys. I'm sorry, I don't. You have perennial losers like the Falcons. I mentioned the Browns, and somebody said, "Oh, hey, the Browns are a legitimate Super Bowl contender."
Air Force beat Boise State. I will have you know.
No, I'm talking about pro ball. I'm talking about pro
know.
teams. Okay, sorry. Me, the joke, whoosh, right over my head. But I personally, and I don't want to get political, but I think the NFL as an organization is broken. I know they're not broke. They're not going anywhere, ever. Ever. I will be cold in the ground for a long time before the NFL shuffles off its mortal coil. But here's the thing, guys. Stuff like San Diego, San Jose, you can't see stupid fun things like that in the NFL.
No.
All right.
First of all, does anybody know what their mascot names are? The San Diego
One
State,
of them-
San Jose State.
One of them is like Spartans, right?
San Jose State are the Spartans. San Diego State, one of my favorites, they're the Aztecs. That
Yes.
there
is
we
one
go.
of the cooler
Yes.
mascots. I'm sorry. That's
No,
a great
no,
one.
that's entirely okay. I just want to see them take it to the next level, and for their halftime show, like cut somebody's heart out and do the feather dance. But no, I don't want to see that. But guys, when you look at the top 25 and you look at stuff like, a back interception, one-handed reception catch, and all of the amazing stuff. Look, 90% of the kids that we see out there, excuse me, the young men, the young men out there, they're going to go on to be insurance salesmen and dentists and high school football coaches and
Physical training.
a raft of other things, garbage men, who will never see a day in an NFL uniform, and they're entirely okay with it. They're playing their hearts out, They're having fun and they're playing football. That to me is worth all of the damned accolades in the NFL. From a fan standpoint, college football is a better product.
Yes, it's much. The problem with the NFL is there's two, maybe three styles of play, and that's it. Everybody basically does the same thing. In college, it runs the gambit, and the variety of offensive schemes and defensive schemes, and just the talent level. Where you may have one really, really great guy who's just awesome, and then he's surrounded by basically 3 and 2 stars. So that doesn't happen in the NFL. I just much prefer college.
I mean, where else can you see an air raid team play a wishbone team?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And by the way, it still kind of bothers me that Air Force runs the wishbone. They should be running the air raid. Does
Well,
anybody else not see the problem with this?
I will tell you, like I told my youngest, because who's considering going to the Air Force Academy, and he really wants to play football. The service academies, they have different standards than just a regular football team. And the reason they run the wishbone is because their linemen are nowhere near as big as everybody else. So that's the way that they have an advantage with the smaller linemen.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let Army run the wishbone. Air Force, it should be in the Constitution.
No,
Air Force
I agree.
has to run the air raid.
I don't want to run the air raid, but yes, they had a coach, Calhoun, a few years ago, who just ran on normal football, right? He ran a play action pass, and it was enjoyable. And then now they get back to triple option wishbone.
This should be illegal.
Yes, I concur. But that is where I stand, just personally, on the question of pro ball. And you can bring me all the arguments you want in the world on stats and everything. You're not going to overcome my gut feeling, which is college ball is better ball. Ball? What was up with that? Did you guys catch that in the Alabama game? Hey, Joe, ball. Everybody on ESPN's squad is saying ball.
I missed that.
I must have missed something.
Yeah, no. Watch if you get a whole replay. I'm sure some of our audience knows it was the weirdest freaking thing. They just all start saying ball. Hey, Joe, ball. You like ball, right, Joe? And I think I don't know if they were talking about. I think they were talking about soccer, which is barely a sport. I mean, I guess it's fine if your mom likes to wear a nice sweater and watch you run around on a grass field for an afternoon after school. But
I'm wholly convinced that the only reason soccer is as popular as it is everywhere but here is because they didn't invent American football first.
Yeah, I'm entirely okay with that point of view. So, what do we think about Tennessee?
Man,
I
I
know.
hate Tennessee.
What? Thank you. That was perfectly timed. What do we think about Tennessee as far as the upcoming game goes? Is this a trap? Because they played Ole Miss to the blade.
I don't think there are any trap games left. If this team is serious about what they say they're serious about, there won't be a trap game because they're not going to overlook anything from here on out. And if they do that, we'll be okay. But if they don't, we're not making the playoffs. We're not making the SEC championship game. So this is not a trap game. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a 49-0 beatdown. I don't think we're going to get that. I agree with you. I think it seems like, just based on yesterday, that this team has woken up and realizes that they can't let up against anyone. And it remains to be seen if that's true, and we'll find out next week. It's going to be interesting to see what the outcome of a Tennessee's quarterback situation is. There's, let's see. I was just looking here to see if there was any update, and I don't not seeing anything right now. So we'll just have to wait and see. The guy that Hooker replaced as the starter, I forget his name. The one that played the last series for Tennessee, he's got an arm on him, and he's got plenty of power, and he can throw the ball. So we'll just have to see if your QB goes down, and now we don't have a lot of tape on this new guy. It could take a little while for the defense to adjust to what, if they're seeing things they haven't seen all season. So we'll just have to, be cautiously optimistic. Is that the word? No.
I will say it like this: if Alabama does what's right with all their might this week, this game will not be competitive after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Play Tennessee like we played Ole Miss, like we played Mississippi State, and we win this game. Play Tennessee like we played Texas A&M, and we're going to have a Texas A&M like result, potentially. That's the gospel truth.
Yeah.
I think any foolishness, any screwing around out on the field, any, hey, we got this, they're just Tennessee attitudes by players, and they're going to get it slammed in the door. I don't think this team wants that. I think they know that there are no slack games. Every game has to be a statement, because even a win that sucks could cost us a playoff berth.
It could, yes. I mean, at this point, I hate to say it, but style points do matter.
Yep.
And
I mean, it's a testament to the difficulties we've had this season that this is not the point at which. Now, I would never accuse Nick Saban of putting things in cruise control and easing his seat back, but this should be the point in the season where we are cruising, and it's not. This is 2015 all over again, and we have got to win. There's no room for mercy. There's no room for put in your second string, put in your third string. Every game has to be an absolute, definitive, crushing beat down, because as fickle as these sports writers are, as fickle as the committee can be, we've got to look like we are, even if we're not ranked there, we've got to look like we're the number one team again. And be ready to jump if something goes, and I don't think it will, but if something goes awry for Georgia, because it's that close. It's that tight. I mean, people say, "Oh, but Bill, there's how many ever more weeks of football?" That's not a bunch. This isn't the NFL where we can fall ass backwards into a playoff
game
berth.
playoff.
Into a 12-game playoff and carry our conference on a 10-5 score. Okay, this is college ball. You are either perfect or you are out. And as far as I'm concerned, we have to be perfect. We have to be absolutely merciless, and we have to play joyless murder ball between now and December. Every team that comes before us has to be slaughtered, and that includes Tennessee this coming week. If we play a Mississippi State level game, if we play an Ole Miss level game, we'll hang 45 points on them and not allow them more than 12, 14. So
I can live with
Yeah, I
that.
mean it's getting really hard to hold anybody below 14 these days.
it is. You've got to you've got to get a Sun Belt team or something like that.
I mean, I realize we just did that against Mississippi State, but realistically, you can't really expect to hold anybody below 14 on a week in, week out basis. You can't expect that.
Yep. It's the nature of the sport now.
I expect it.
Right on. So, any closing thoughts on the upcoming week, gentlemen? Any at all?
Man, I hate Tennessee. They low
Well-
down, they dirty, they some snitches. I hate Neyland Stadium. It looks like a garbage truck worker convention. Tennessee's colors is that throw up orange. It's not that orange that you can sit with. It's that puke inside of a pumpkin orange.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Well,
Well
that is,
spoken, sir.
I certainly can't add anything to that. Commandant Krieger is once again our trivia winner. So Commandant got it. What he got, one of the guesses was, let's see here, Robert Lester got multiple interceptions against Mississippi State under Nick Saban. His other guess was Sean Connery, but sorry a lot. That's not one of them. I bloody well would have done it, though, had I been there. Anyway, so Commandant Krieger, well done.
Yeah,
And
Mark
you get the
Barron
shout.
was the other one, by the way.
Yes, Mark Barron. So we will be here again next Sunday. Hopefully Jess will be here to keep us all in line with some
Who's bringing the
awesome
cigars?
stats and facts. I will leave that to you guys. I'm not a cigar man, so. But anyway, after we beat Tennessee, smoke them if you got them, guys. It was an absolutely fantastic joy to be here, and we will see you all next week. Peace.